What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the debut of the Corner Pub pregame show. I'm going to take you through the slate of NFL games, give you some betting advice, fantasy advice, all rolled into one. About a quick hour, quick half-hour show. Just going to go through all the games, all the matchups, hit them pretty quick, and try to get you ready for today's game. So my name's Sean Selby. I'm the host of the Corner Pub Sports Podcast. We go live on Friday nights on our Facebook page and YouTube page. But for this show, we're getting together with Heat Ratio Sports, which is amazing. Tony and the crew over there have done an amazing job building their network up. So I'm really happy to be a part of this. Tony and I have gone back for years, so this is pretty cool. So yeah, like I said, we're just going to kind of go through the games, the slate. I'll give you the lines, over unders. I've got some Selby sizzlers, I'm going to call it. So I got 3 games that I really like that I'm not saying I would, but I would put money down on if I was a betting man. If I am, I guess you'll have to just assume. So yeah, this is going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to this and a new adventure for us. And yeah, so the show is brought to you by Win Daily Sports. Today, on Sundays, you can use the promo code HEAT for a special Sunday promotion, a discount on your bets. So check it out, windailysports.com. So let's get at it. Without further ado, the first game on the docket today. We got Pittsburgh and Atlanta. Atlanta's a 3.5-point favorite. Over under is 41.5. I like Pittsburgh in this game. Just basically because I understand Atlanta has some new offensive weapons, especially with the quarterback. Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta. But the thing is, to me, I don't think they're a team that should be getting points at this point until they can prove that they can win games. There's a reason why they're a top 10 pick in the NFL draft the last few years. They can't get it together. So I'm not saying that Pittsburgh's some juggernaut. Pittsburgh has a lot of questions of their own with Justin Fields, potentially starting, or is it going to be Russell Wilson? And, that's going to be a thing all year with those two teams. But until Atlanta can get something going, I'm not trusting them on anything right now. So it's week one. Week one's the toughest week to really predict. And keep that in mind when you're doing your fantasy and your betting this week. It's really the toughest week because teams are trying to figure out new systems, new players, new personnel. And a lot of these teams don't play their players for preseason. So you don't know what you're going to get here. But just on merit, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh on this one. But some fantasy stuff in this game. George Pickens. He has an extremely tough matchup against A.J. Terrell on the other side going up against him. However, I don't know who else they're going to throw the ball to. So George Pickens, to me, if you have him, you got to play him. And obviously, I'm going to say this, preface this, fantasy advice. I'm not going to tell you, start Justin Jefferson or sit this guy. I'm not going to. The rule of thumb, you have a star, you're playing him, okay? You're playing them. So just keep that in mind. These are more like sleepers or guys that could be on your bench, that kind of thing. I'm not going to, tell you to start CMC. Like, obviously, All right. So anyway, George Pickens, though, he might be a guy you're kind of teetering on. I would start him this week. I even though he has a tough matchup, I think it's going to be fine. He's still the number one option. In that game, I would probably sit Najee Harris, only because I'm not exactly high on him this year. I think Jaylen Warren is going to end up taking carries away from Najee Harris as the year goes on. I think Warren will be the starter at some point. So I'm just down on Najee Harris. I just think he's had his chances. He hasn't been able to really come through to this point. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Next game here, we got Tennessee and Chicago. Chicago's 3.5-point favorites at home, over under 45. Same situation for me. You got a rookie quarterback coming in here. You don't know what Caleb Williams it truly is yet. Granted, yes, Keenan Allen suiting up, DJ Moore, Aduze, they have really good weapons there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with DeAndre Swift. More on that in a second. But again, they're getting points. I get they're at their home. I like Tennessee. I just think that Will Levis finally has weapons of his own, and he's been in the league for a couple years here. I'm just going to go with experience here. So, yeah, I mean, I would say outright as well. Like, I would say Tennessee wins this game outright. But speaking of Will Levis, if you are a Jordan Love owner and you're out of a quarterback for a couple of weeks, just keep your eye on him. I'm sure he's out in the waiver wire. He, to me, would be a good waiver wire pickup. He's got some great weapons out there. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, and then don't forget about Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard catches balls out of the backfield also. Tyler Boyd's a great complimentary receiver. Obviously, we know what DeAndre Hopkins was, but he still had 70-something catches last year. And Calvin Ridley it could be a game breaker. So I think Levis is a good waiver wire pickup if you're out there looking for a Jordan Love replacement. I would sit DeAndre Swift, only because we don't know what his role is going to be exactly. It sounds like Herbert's kind of be going back and forth with him. So until we really see what DeAndre Swift has, I would just sit him for now. So we're gonna do our 3 Selby Sizzlers, we like to call it. So here you go. So if I was a betting man, these are the 3 games that I'm looking at. Of course, the Selby Sizzler is brought to you by WinDailySports.com. Again, use promo code HEAT for a special discount, for a Sunday-only discount. So check it out, WinDailySports.com. So the first Selby Sizzler is Arizona and Buffalo. Buffalo given 6.5. Over-under is 47.5. Again, this game is in Buffalo. There's a lot of things to look at with this one that I love Buffalo. I mean, I get it that Josh Allen lost Stephon Diggs. You don't know what's going to happen with the passing game there. I don't think it matters. Arizona is pretty horrendous defensively, especially against the run. In fact, they were probably the worst fantasy defense. So that kind of bodes well for someone who has James Cook. James Cook is a must start this week. You have to start him. He's going to go off today. But to get back to the game itself, I just think 6.5 is probably about right. But I think Buffalo's going to win by a touchdown or more. So I just like this game. I don't know if Arizona's going to have enough to keep up with them at home. If this game was in Arizona and the line was the same, I wouldn't go this way. But just because of the circumstance. The next Selby Sizzler is this one here, Minnesota and the Giants. Minnesota 1.5 point road favorites against the Giants. Over-under is 41. I got to be honest, both these teams are probably not going to be very good this year. I don't think that's any secret. The Giants, to me, I think they're just lost. I think they might be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. I don't know if they're going to win 5 games. Minnesota, look, Sam Darnold's their quarterback now. You're scared. If you're a Vikings fan, you're scared because, J.J. McCarthy goes down. You had all this hope that he was going to possibly be the new franchise quarterback, which he still could be. But for the time being, they're in a little bit of trouble here. However, Minnesota is still going to win this game. And they're going to win it by more than a 1.5. So Justin Jefferson, there's too much there to cover. It doesn't matter who he's going against. He's going to get open. He's going to make his plays. But on the other side, Jordan Addison as well. So I just think that there's too much there for Minnesota to be able to cover there. So Mike's jumping in here. Selby Scissors. Thanks, brother. So yeah, Buffalo, man. Buffalo's probably the pick there, dude. That's to me a no-brainer. All right, so then the last Selby Sizzler of the day is I got the Giants. I got that team. Oh, I got this one here. Cincinnati, New England. This one is interesting. So again, 7.5 point favorite, home favorite are the Bengals. 40.5 is the points, the over under here. To me, Cincinnati, there's actually a lot of questions right now as we're on the air right here. Is Jamar Chase going to play? Jamar Chase had apparently gotten sick yesterday, and he was already questionable because he hadn't really been practicing too much during the week. Now, he's questionable. They're thinking he's going to play because he's feeling better, but he's technically a game-time decision. I think by the time I'm going off the air here, we'll probably get the inactive report about 11:30, so we'll know by then. Despite that, to me, it doesn't matter. New England's defense is pretty good. I just think that's too many points. Granted that New England might not be able to keep up with Cincinnati offensively, but I just don't know if Cincinnati's going to be able to, just go down the field up and down and score at will on them. I think this is going to be a tougher game than people are anticipating. I'm going to take New England with the points. I don't think they'll win the game, but I'm taking New England with the points. Fantasy implications of this game, Zach Moss, I like him. I do think with Chase Brown right behind him, that could be an issue going forward. But for today, Zach Moss is going to be the guy. And, the Bengals are going to score, like I said, maybe not at will, but Zach Moss has a real good chance of getting in the end zone today against New England. I do think that, just early in the season, Zach Moss will be the guy leading the carries between those two. All right, let's get back at it. No more Selby Sizzlers, but those are the three games that I would definitely place bets on. All right, Houston, Indianapolis. Houston 3.5-point road favorites going against Indy. Anthony Richardson's back. Over under is 49. That's a lot of points. I think that's the highest over under. It's tied for another one. That's pretty good. A lot of offense. This has offense written all over it. And if you own players and for both these teams, sit back because this should be probably the game of the day for fantasy football managers. But in this game, I like Indy at home. It's one of those weird things. I don't think Indy's a better team than Houston. I think Houston's completely stacked and everything. It's one of those weird ones, like just that the home team's just going to pan out and just get the advantage and pull it off at the end. I don't love Indy. If I was to choose, I would take them here. That's why it's not a Selby Sizzler. I'm staying away from this one. But players I would start. The guy could be on your bench. He probably shouldn't be. But Tank Dell. You have a situation there with Stephon Diggs, obviously a new acquisition. Nico Collins. Nico Collins seems to be the number one. Tank Dell, 47 catches, 709 yards last year, 7 touchdowns. He's a solid receiver, and he's been hampered with injuries, but now he's back. He's got a great arsenal around, great core around him. And CJ Stroud going into year 2, that he's going to be a dangerous player. I think that any Tank Dell owner is going to be pretty happy with that pick this year. So, but again, yeah, Colts somehow pull it out though, despite all that. We got Jacksonville and Miami. Miami's 3.5-point favorites at home against Blossom, as I call him, Trevor Lawrence. Battle of Florida, if you may. Over under, that's another one. They were expecting a lot of offense. 49 points. So again, fantasy managers should really like this one. Like I said, I got Cincy as my suicide pick. Ooh, yeah, dude. I don't know, man. I don't think Cincinnati's going to lose. I just think that the 7.5's a lot. But yeah, like you said, if Chase isn't playing, you might want to consider switching that pick out. I'd be a little weary of that one. It just has a weird vibe to me. Back to Jacksonville, Miami. Tyreek Hill, breaking news. Tyreek Hill has been detained by police. I believe it was a traffic violation, some kind of violation. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Traffic stop right by the stadium. And he got detained. So they're saying, I haven't seen anything about him being arrested, but detained, which maybe just brought in for questioning. Maybe will be released. But wow, Tyreek Hill not being in this game, that might actually switch things here. I still had Miami. Jalen Waddle's still there. He's a handful of himself. I love Raheem Mostert today. Raheem Mostert was outstanding last year. He was an end zone monster. I expect the same again this year. A chain is a great 20-20 back, but it's Mostert inside the 20 that gets it done. So, if you have Mostert sitting on your bench, put him out there, give him a shot. Especially because the Jacksonville Jaguars allowed the 12th most points to fantasy running backs last season. So the favors in your everything's in your favor there. So Jacksonville, Christian Kirk, I like him. He wasn't like a sexy pick for me because even though Calvin Ridley's gone, and he's still a solid player, but he's just inconsistent for me. But I would go with him this week, especially because the Dolphins are missing Bradley Chubb and Jaron Phillips on defense. I think that opens things up a little bit more for Kirk to do some damage. So we'll see what happens there. But with the Tyreek Hill situation, it's pretty messed up. What does Jay say? Oh, Selby scissors now available $3.99 at local Wawa. Nice. Get the shorty though. It's more fitting for me. All right. So next game here we got Carolina and the Saints. Saints are 4.5-point home favorites. Over under is 41.5. I'm gonna go to Saints with this one. To me, Carolina is just they were in an absolute abysmal mess last year, and I don't think anything really changed. Look, Jonathan Brooks is there now. They drafted the young running back. He can make a difference. There's nothing with Carolina that says to me that they're gonna. I mean, again, them and the Giants, I think, are going to be neck and neck with having some of the worst teams in the league. Bryce Young, I'm not a believer, and I hate to sound like I don't like to sound like such a hater, but there's a lot of question marks with him. Coming out of last year, he couldn't read defense. He wasn't studying, all that stuff. So obviously they're going to go with him because they drafted him as such. But if they have another bad season this year, Carolina, I think they probably look to move on at this point. But it's week one. We'll see what happens. That's why they play the game. So, but I still like the Saints in this one. Saints at home. Fantasy implications. Tyson Hill, 7 touchdowns last season. He's now, I don't know about every league. I know quite a few leagues have officially changed him as a tight end as opposed to a quarterback. So you can't play him as a quarterback anymore. But yeah, Tyson Hill to me is a Swiss Army knife that is always a threat to score. So he'd be my pick there. And then I'm sitting Deontay Johnson for Carolina. Basically because of what I just said a couple minutes ago. Bryce Young scares me. I don't know what's going to happen with that situation. The fact that Deontay Johnson's first game with his new team, I would just see how him and Young connect before I would consider playing him. I don't hate Deontay Johnson. He's a decent receiver in Pittsburgh. I think I would wait to see. I would not stick him in my starting up just yet. Just see what happens. All right, next game, 4 p.m. games. We have Oakland and the Chargers. Chargers at home. Given 3, over-under is 40 points. This game, to me, was one of the tougher ones to pick. I just saw a poll this week. It said, who's the most overrated player in the NFL? And my answer was apparently the majority of answers. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert gets all this love. Look, he's a solid quarterback. But people, they look at him like he's next coming. And I just don't get it. He hasn't performed down stretches. He hasn't performed late in games. The team continues to struggle year after year. And now Justin Herbert lost Keenan Allen. He lost Mike Williams. So now it's basically the Josh Palmer show. And I guess the other name's slipping me, the other kid they drafted. So someone out there help me out. But it's gonna be tough. What's up, Mark? Thanks for joining the show, brother. Yeah. So that's. I just think that's a tough one there to pick. However, I'm just gonna go with the Chargers just because they're the home team. 3 points sounds about right. It could be a push, but I would go with the Chargers here. Oakland isn't in much better shape either. Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback there now. I do like Zamir White, running back for Oakland. He got a sample size last year, but when he played the Chargers, he got 18 fantasy points. Pretty solid game for him. So now he's the guy for Oakland now. So I do like him, and then I like Josh Palmer, like I mentioned. That the fact that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are gone last year in his career against Oakland, Josh Palmer has 14 catches, 230 yards, and a touchdown. So that's a pretty solid. I mean, you put that in 2 games, let's just say. That's pretty solid. So Josh Palmer is probably the number one there, and the Chargers will score, and it's probably going to be mostly Herbert and Josh Palmer at this point. So, but yeah, like I said, tough one, but I would go Chargers. Sticking with the 4:00 games, we got Denver and Seattle. This one was also a little tough. Seattle is home favorites, 6 points, over under 41.5. Again, you might feel a certain way about this. Like, do they deserve to get 6 points here? It seems like a lot. I tend to think that that's going to be the case. I'm going to take Denver here. I think Sean Payton has his guy in Bo Nix. This could be a good starting point for him and that offense to see what they have. Seattle's defense was half decent last year, but I don't know if Denver wins. I wouldn't take Denver to win, but I would say they would cover 6 points. I think the Broncos somehow stick around in this game. And was last year an anomaly for Geno Smith, or is he really a decent quarterback? So there's a lot of question marks with them as well. One guy I don't think is going to be a question mark is Jackson Smith-Njigba. I would start him over guys like Taylor Lockett. I think he steps up his game this year. The coaching staff said he's going to be a major piece of their offense. So in year 2 for him, he has a chance to really break out. So if you have JSN on your bench, give him a shot. Javonte Williams is the lead back for Denver. I like him as well. And I think he's going to take some heat off of Bo Nix. They're not going to put all this pressure. Not going to ask Bo Nix to throw the ball 35 times in his first game. So Javonte Williams could get a lot of carries this week against a Seattle defense that is half decent, but I think they rely on the running game. All right, we got the Cowgirls taking on the Browns. Obviously, you can tell I'm an Eagles fan. For those who don't know, go Birds! 1-0, baby. Who's 1-0 in division? Raise your hand if you're 1-0 in the NFC East. But they take on the Browns in Cleveland, 2.5-point favorites. Or Cleveland over under is 41 points. I'm going to take Cleveland. I'm not doing this just because I'm a hater of the Cowboys, because I am. But I just think that this is a tough game for Dallas to come out when they're also trying to find themselves. CeeDee Lamb just signed the contract. He didn't practice much throughout the summer. There's a major question mark at running back for Dallas. Their tackles are gone. Like their leading tackles are gone. So that it's just that there's a lot of question marks with Dallas. Their defense is still going to be stout. And that's one of the reasons that I'm sitting Deshaun Watson in week 1. So Sean, you're sitting Deshaun Watson, but yeah, Cleveland's going to win. There's another reason why. It ain't going to be because of Deshaun Watson. So the Dallas defense is top 10 against quarterbacks. So that's why that's an easy one. And then Rico Dowdle, I'm sitting him as well until you know what his role is with Zeke there. I know a lot of people took Rico thinking he's going to be the guy. He might be, but at this time, again, it's just sit and wait approach. It's week 1. It's not a make or break game or anything like that, but just wait it out, be patient, see how they use them, see what they do with Zeke and Dowdle there. But I'm going to start Jerome Ford, and I actually just inserted him in one of my lineups today over I'm contradicting myself. I have Brandon Ayuk. And I'm sitting Ayuk, and I'm starting Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is the lead back for Cleveland, and the reason why I'm sitting Ayuk is because he's going against Sauce. So that's Sauce Gardner is going to. It's just a bad matchup all around. So I just thought I liked my chances more with Ford possibly getting more points, possibly getting in the end zone. He averaged 12.4 points a game last year as a fantasy running back. I also like Jerry Jeudy a lot. If you're in a big flex league, maybe use him as a second flex or so. But Jeudy, new surrounding, getting out of Denver and that mess that was there, going to a team that has a little bit of a better rhythm on offense. I like Jerry Jeudy this year. So I don't know if I would, unless it's a super flex league or a deeper league. I don't know if I would start him if there's 10 or 12 teams per se this week, but. Again, he might be another wait-and-see guy. All right, we got Washington and Tampa Bay. 3.5 points. Tampa Bay at home, taking on the Commodes. I'm actually going to go Washington. I was not a firm believer in the year that Tampa Bay had last year. I think Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback. But sometimes you find fool's gold, and I think that's what happened with Tampa Bay last year. Just no rhyme or reason for it. There's just a gut feeling there. I just don't really care for them. I think Washington has vastly improved their defense. I think they have a chance to be a 500 team this year, and it starts with the quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Daniels looks like he's going to be electric. You have pretty good weapons out there in Washington, so and obviously they add Austin Eckler to the backfield. That's going to help a little bit. Brian Robinson comes back healthy, so I think Washington gets their first win of the year this week. 42.5 is the over. That sounds about right. It should be a little bit of a low-scoring game. I would probably actually take the under that. Sunday Night Football. We got 2 games left. Sunday Night Football. The Rams and Detroit. That's going to be a fun one. You got Jared Goff going, taking on his former team, and he's done pretty well against them in the past. So 4.5 points, though, is Detroit favorite. Over on is 43.5. That seems a little low to me. I have anticipation of this being another shootout. Especially Sunday Night Football. Those games get crazy sometimes. So, but I like Jared Goff as a fantasy quarterback this week against his old team. He had the 6th most points among quarterbacks last season. So, I think he's going to perform. I mean, St. Brown, all the weapons out there, and actually you can dump it off to Gibbs. Excuse me. David Montgomery, of course, is still in the picture. Not much has changed there. Sam Laporta is now established himself as a top tight end in this league. So, but I'm taking the Rams with the points. I just think it's going to be a close game. It's this game has down to the wire written all over it. And then that leads us to our last game, the Jets and San Fran. I mentioned earlier I'm sitting Ayuk against Sauce Gardner. But yeah, 49ers 4.5-point favorites at home. Over under is 43.5. That sounds about right too. I think this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. Aaron Rodgers is a little. They're not welcoming him in with a really good matchup here. That's going to be a tough game for him to come back from. Playing on against a stout San Fran defense, coming off the major injury he had last season. I'd be sitting him. I would not be starting Aaron Rodgers this week. If he balls out, then guess what? You're putting him in your lineup next week, and that he's back, right? If he's going to completely shred the 49ers defense, then that's a win-win. I would keep an eye on Mike Williams and Alan Lazard for the Jets. Lazard was a favorite target of Aaron Rodgers in his time during his time in Green Bay, and Mike Williams, a guy who's oft injured, but the guy's a playmaker, and to go along with Garrett Wilson out there in New York. There's some weapons there, and Aaron Rodgers likes to sling the ball around. So I'm not saying to start either one of them just yet, and Lazard is probably on your waiver wire. But Mike Williams could be a nice guy to keep stashed away right now, just to see how they use him. So, but yeah, that wraps up the slate of NFL games this week. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate everyone checking in here, and we're going to be doing this every Sunday at 11 o'clock. It's across many platforms. It's across the Heat Ratio Facebook page and YouTube page. It's across the Corner Pub Sports Facebook and YouTube pages. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to do this week in and week out. And hopefully I can help you guys win some money. Again, windailysports.com. Use promo code HEAT for a special Sunday discount. And I got to self-promote, all right? I got a book coming out October 4th. No one likes us, but we do care. It's coming out on Amazon. Right now, if you do the search on Amazon, you can find the Kindle version. It'll be available in hardcover and paperback. That will not be available to view until October 4th. So they won't be searchable until then. But yeah, it's basically about being a Philadelphia fan, growing up as a Philadelphia fan, all the hate that we get, our heartbreaks, our few victories, just experiences. There's former athletes have provided some great stories in there. Lenny Dykstra, Scott Air, Brian Propp. I got Ed Kratz as a part of it. E-Rock, Matt Edwards of the Relief Room. So there's a lot of guests who make an appearance in the book. Actually, Mike, who's jumping on here, Mike helped out with a section of the book. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'll keep pushing that. Trust me. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Corner Pub Pregame. Enjoy the games, guys. It should be a lot of fun. And guys, it's awesome. But football is back. See you guys.